And welcome to the Village of Lake Bluff Sustainability and Community Enhancement Ad Hoc Committee regular meeting for Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. Can I get a roll call, please? Call to order and roll call.
Yeah. Member Buccio?
Present.
Member Cole?
Present.
Member Hance?
Present.
Member Richer?
Present.
Member Twitchell?
Present.
And Chair Renner.
Present. Okay. Next up is a consideration of the March 21st, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Did anyone have any comments, amendments? Can I get a motion to accept, please?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right. What's the voice vote? Voice vote, right? Yeah. Voice vote, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next up on the agenda, we offer 15 minutes for anyone who wants to speak anything that's not on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone here who wants to speak on something? Okay. All right. Can you take us through the general business?
Yes, so the first application is for beekeeping at 511 Rockland Avenue, and the petitioner is in attendance to present the request.
Okay, we're very excited about this. For anyone viewing or the rest of the audience, we had worked on both the chicken and beekeeping ordinances. Previously, we've had a number of chicken applications and successful residents doing this, so we're very excited about getting an application for beekeeping. It's important for our environment. It is a challenging endeavor, so we appreciate residents who are interested in this. The village does maintain a number of specific bee-specific regulations, which are available on the website, but in general, we require certain requirements with regards to the location on the property, and surrounding landscape, maintain the resident to maintain sound and usable condition, and to hives to be maintained in the rear yard of the principal structure. So there are a number of other regulations, but we have before us the application. I don't know if you would like to speak at all for your application and say anything. If not, we can proceed.
If there's any questions, otherwise I'm looking forward to being first to start the bees.
Okay. I'll open it up to the committee. If you have any questions, comments, anyone?
I'm just curious, in your pursuit and desire.
Please come up to the microphone, please.
Yes, I'm sorry. I think it's terrific. I'm just curious, what brought you to this point of wanting to, take on this?
I've worked with several people who have done bees for many years. And it's one of these things that I think we need to go a little bit more green, and I'd like to get away from medical and start using something that's coming from that I can produce. Sure. And honey, as you know, honey is wonderful for your body.
Yeah, especially local grown that,
Exactly.
That's great, terrific.
If you ever want to drop some of your harvest off here for the committee, we'd be welcome to sample it.
I was going to say, I hope that you'll be willing to give workshops for the community on how it goes. Maybe a tour stop,
That'd be
just so that we
absolutely,
can get
sure.
more excitement and momentum around it.
Absolutely.
Anything else? If not, could I get a motion to approve this application?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
Okay. We'll split it.
everybody's raising.
Yes.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Drew, would this be a voice?
Voice? Okay, voice vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Passed. Thank you.
Approved.
Congratulations.
Yay. Yeah, please follow up with us. We'd be very much happy to hear how it goes. All right. good evening.
Thanks for showing up.
All right, next up, we have a Bird City, Illinois presentation.
Yes, by Glenn Moss, the president of the Lake County Audubon Society.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I have to go back to 1959 when I was at Camp McCodjuan in Boy Scouts. And I met my first person from Lake Bluff back then. He was a counselor with the troop here, and he was my favorite counselor that year. He was only in high school, and I was not in high school. So that's how I knew about Lake Bluff originally. I grew up in Northbrook, so it was like just down the road. But I lived in Libertyville since 1974, so there's a lot of Lake County here. I appreciate that you would like to hear about becoming a bird city. I think once you become it, and on the way there, you'll be very excited. There's only very few bird cities in the state of Illinois. We took the model for Audubon Council of Illinois. The Audubon Council is made up of whoever is an Audubon in different towns or areas that would like to belong to Audubon Council. So it goes down to Decatur, it goes to, way downstate. Up here, Chicago is a member of the Audubon Council, and Libertyville, not Libertyville, but Lake County, and there's a number of others. So when we were designing it, we took it from Wisconsin. Wisconsin has been doing Audubon bird cities for a while. They have 109 bird cities in Wisconsin that may not just be cities, they may be areas. And it's been very successful. The model we have adapted, but we change it as we go to fit with what's happening in Illinois. And also, we're all volunteers that run it. And the people in Wisconsin have a paid person. You can imagine with 109 of them that you might have somebody paid to organize it. If you're thinking about, think about one thing that everybody likes to think about, and that is what's in it for us. And one of the things that's in it for you is actually birds mean money. And you can, I'm going to pass these two cards around. These are cards that we made up. And we first, I'll give you an example of this. In Waukegan, Freeport, and Rockford tied for becoming the first bird cities in the state of Illinois. And back in 2021, November 28th, a bird appeared, and it was in the Tribune. It was that exciting. It was in the Tribune because it appeared at the power plant by the beach, and it was from Brazil. Now, a little confusion to come up here November 28th when you're in a beautiful climate. Because of that bird, it went out on eBird, the Cornell site, and people came from everywhere because it hadn't been seen in Illinois since 1975, and that was downstate somewhere. So one of our board members was out there taking pictures of it, stayed for a while in the pine trees there, and he asked the guy next to him who was taking pictures where he was from. And he said, I just flew up to see this bird. I'm from Houston. Now, he spent some money there. He didn't get on a plane back and forth in 2 seconds. So we encourage that because it takes the business end. You people are sustainability. You're probably more into the excitement of nature than some people might be that are in business. But it's a big plus for a town. So the towns that have Bird City are Freeport, Rockford, Waukegan, Grays Lake, and Libertyville. And within a week or two, it'll be presented to Evanston, Illinois. A couple towns downstate are working on it, but you would be the third town, let's see, one, two, three, you'd be the fourth town in Lake County. And we like to dominate up here in Lake County on that, because we do have areas that are very unique in Lake County for birding. If you go from Rollins Savannah, which is a nationally recognized birding site, go up to Illinois Beach, you go all along your waterfront, you have the birds. And there's people down here that you wouldn't even know, or some of the people locally that are here looking for birds all the time. And what do birds mean? No, they're just birds. Birds mean you have a quality area for environment. That area, without birds, you're going to be dead. Because if birds can't exist, you can't exist. So Lake County Audubon doesn't just work on birds. We are working on environmental issues. I don't know what your opinion on this is or not, but we worked on Route 53. We had representatives there. We have representatives discussing about the airport at Waukegan, about taking away land from the Forest Preserve, which had promised never to lose land. So there's discussions that we take part in. We're not like the Sierra Club. We're not into things that deep all the time, but we are into the local issues quite a bit. Let me think of some things I've written here. If you have Bird City, it is a chance for the town to take pride in itself. It's a special place to live, as you already know, because you live here, that it is a special place. And this just adds to that. And I was going through a bunch of things that I have observed. And you have the application, and I know there's people working on the application or would like to work on the application that have looked into some of these things. But I cross-country ski at your golf course in the winter. But that golf course, I don't know what it looks like exactly in the summer, except when I drive by, But you have the Skokie River through there, which is an area. If you were to go up to Bonnie Brook Golf Course in Waukegan, the DNR does not allow people to play into the grassy areas which they have planted along the river. It's the Waukegan River there. And that, I don't know if you have those rules or not. Both are community golf courses, but the DNR actually told them up there, people have to stay out of that wetland area. So those are things to look at, and if they aren't there, there's things to work on. The importance of those areas, of not polluting and what would pollute mostly? Chemicals that might be put on the golf course. And that would be a stopping point of those chemicals. So, by the lake, when I go down to the beach there, I've seen native plantings. My gosh, that fits right into the Bird City application. It's right in there in one of the points of having native plants and being a protective area of erosion down to the lake. I went to a session at the Wild Things Conference, was down in Chicago not too long ago. And it was the person who had led the group that did a study of all the ravines from Winnetka to the state line. And as you know, the ravines are special places. They're microclimates. They're areas where you will not find plants. Maybe you find them 100 miles from here, but you won't find them in other places because they have boreal backgrounds and that climate down there promotes them. Another beautiful thing that fits into Bird City. You may already be doing things. I put these down of just things I could think of. You may be already doing some kind of recycling projects that fit into that. You may have special recycling projects. You may have composting projects for the city or the town. I keep saying city, I should say town. You're a village just like Libertyville, the village. And you may have, I don't know if this building is, different city buildings follow, have high standards. Sometimes they're, what would you call it, the gold or lead, or is this a lead?
The elementary school, the Target, and some other buildings in town have that.
Okay, well, having those there, you put those on an application that you're trying to accomplish more and more on the buildings. You have, which is really interesting, I know some of the people there because I sail out of Waukegan, then some of them have boats at Waukegan plus here. It's kind of unique to just have a sailing club in which no motorboats are polluting the water at your lakefront. And noise is not there. Sailing, is awesome. So you could put that into an application, or the committee could put that in an application. If you are planning having solar panels on any buildings, some places, for instance, Grays Lake has CLC in their property, and they have put in solar panels they can put that in there. They didn't need to put it in there, but they could have. If sometimes schools may be trying to promote solar panels or different energy sources, that fit in really well. I noticed that on your website, you have, and this is important, when you communicate with people, it can't be just once. In other words, you do something and then nobody knows about it 5 years from now when somebody moves in. But I notice you have right on your website about the use and promotion of low noise leaf blowers and using battery powered lawnmowers. And that is right at the top, of what towns are doing and fits in so well. They aren't all doing it though, that's the whole thing. You're doing it and you have it on your website. You can check, the committee can check if there's library programs that would fit in, that they're promoting. It may be a garden club that's promoting things with native plants. Recommended book by Doug Ptolemy, which is Nature's Best Hope. If you read that book, every house here can be a national park, a mini national park, it's, and some of them probably are. I mean, when I walk around, I see some of that. What else did I put in here? You have the Lake Bluff open lands, and that's in your city proper, right? Yes. And my gosh, that is a big plus, big plus. I mean, they did all that work just on Waukegan Road, on 176 just lately, and then going back, and it connects with the Forest Preserve. Your steward for Oriole Orchard lives in Lake Bluff. So, all that connects, the Forest Preserve things connect. It's all connected. It's all good. So what I'm saying is, if you became a bird city, it's really expensive. It costs the city $200. And that's for the signs to be made, actually, and ordered and made. And then what would happen is it goes to a committee, your application. And your application is looked at by a committee from Audubon Council of Illinois. And I know that Evanston was very interested when we had a representative of Evanston there when we did this. And she it awakened her. We passed Evanston, but we said some things could be better. And it opens up your mind of why they could be better. It may be publicity, it may be anything and everything, but it's not a downer. It's a way of learning more when it goes to an application process. So I've encouraged your committees, if they're going to work on this, to do more than they need. Okay? You might say you need 1 from here, 2 from here. If you have 3 or 4, put them on there. You also could save some, you also can have on there future ideas. If the village is working on some project for the future, that can be put in the application. If it's a sustainable item that you're saying, hey, we're going to hopefully get this within 2 or 3 years, you put that in if you need it. Or you could save it for, it's sort of, you're a tree city, I believe, aren't you? Yes. And you have to refill those out every once in a while. It's every, 3, 4 years, 5 years, I don't know what it is for Tree City. But it would be the same thing for this. But what you're doing is just putting what you've done lately. That's what you're doing on the new application. And I think there's maybe a $50 charge. I'm telling you, we work on pennies. These are all donations that come to these, or they come from another Audubon where the money has come from donations. So it's all good. But it is recognized, and I want to tell you about that. It is recognized across many states, bird cities. I go to a meeting that's run by a birding group, and there's a meeting tomorrow, a matter of fact, and they have paid people that are working on making it easier to do bird cities, keep paperwork, make it easier for the towns then to go back and look. And there's representatives usually at that meeting from Ohio. There's been ones from Canada. There's people from Michigan. There are numerous states that have started the bird city idea. So it is known. And if you put those signs up when you get them, there's usually 2 signs you get. You put them maybe at the front of your village, and then when you leave the village, I don't know how you do that here. One, probably on 176 somewhere, I would think. And then, and you can make more signs. If you have a sign department, you can just copy the design and put out more. You also get a plaque that can be put up, in the office. So I'm open to questions. I know you can look at it maybe online, but maybe they don't need to. It depends if you want to do that. You can bring it up online, Audubon Council of Illinois, if you want to look at it.
That's where, if someone wanted to see where are the bird cities in Illinois, they'd go to the Audubon Council has a website.
You go to the website. You can go, can you bring that up?
Yes, I'm working on
It'd be
it.
ACI, Audubon Council of Illinois.
Looks like there's a listing, but not necessarily like a map or anything.
Well, it's the Audubon Councils, I named them all for you. There was only, I named them. So Grace Lake, Libertyville.
And does the Audubon Council do any sort of events across all of these bird cities? Like it's Raven Week, or it's,
Well,
to help kind of drive traffic to these bird cities, so to speak, just trying to get the social media
You
mentions
don't
up.
have to drive people to them, because if they go on Cornell, which we can bring up in a second, you'll see exactly where the birds were today. And you can go right down to the beach here and see if any birds were spotted and reported.
Oh, that's cool.
People are out every single day.
What's that site again? I'm sorry.
That'd be Cornell. Those are free sites.
It's Cornell Lab of Ornithology.
Okay, so there's,
And eBird is one of their programs.
Oh, okay.
that's out of, one's called eBird, E-B-I-R-D, free download.
Oh, it's an app.
Okay, this wants me to start a checklist. Are there any birds in here? We could start a checklist of birds. But it will take and report it. I can go explore. Okay, this is picked up where we are.
That's cool.
If those are what the sightings were in the last 3 days, all those spots of
A lot of
birds.
birds coming through now.
Yeah, for
And the
sure.
birds will be coming through. And I know that you probably know this, that it's important to encourage even in a newsletter about lights out during that May time. And we've had a person talk about the type of lighting, I haven't seen it around here, but there's giant lights pointing up. If they're gonna be lights and they're just, shallow and they're pointing down, it's safe then for somebody to walk there, but it doesn't bring the birds in, okay? So here's a page. Let's see, up at the top, if we can, or continue down on that page. I think it's up, well, here, this will tell you, process overview. You can go to categories and criteria. That'll just give you an idea if you click on that. So it tells you at least 3 from category 1s. Why don't you, look at category 1, it's down. And you can kind of read that over. I won't read it to you.
Okay, so there's minimum points from each section that you like to achieve. Is there a minimum checklist?
You have to have how many it tells you. You have to
Okay.
have 3 from one of them. It has 1 from, there's a minimum.
Okay.
You'll be surprised how easy it is once you start expanding and thinking, we have that, or we do this. That you will be surprised. And the committee, I know, you guys started looking at things, and I think you came up with stuff right away, didn't you?
Yeah, I perused the list that was provided in the packet for the meeting. We could fill this out now, and I think we would qualify pretty quickly, pretty easily. I know Illinois is uniquely positioned, specifically Chicago, because we have Mississippi as a major thoroughfare for bird traffic, as well as the St. Lawrence Waterway. We have beach, we also have prairie. We have a really interesting ecosystem right here for birds, so I think this is a wonderful idea. I think it's a great way for Lake Bluff to promote sort of the wilderness that we all appreciate about the community.
One of our goals, actually, with Audubon, we started what's called Sharing Our Shore Waukegan back in 2021, no, it was before that, no, 2021. If you remember about Monty and Rose, they started in Waukegan. That's where they laid their eggs, in the parking lot. And they were seen, and they go, this is not going to work in the parking lot there by the beach, because people were they're doing spins with their cars in the parking lot. So the DNR came out and put a sign there. We go, that's still not going to work because nobody even sees a sign. So they had to take the eggs up to Michigan to a lab, and one hatched and was returned to Waukegan. The next year, Monty and Rose decided they wanted to be down in Chicago where, there's a lot going on down there, and they thought it'd be cool to be down at Montrose Beach, So they went there. Monty and Rose are not alive anymore, I would say. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but they used to take separate vacations. Rose went to Florida, Monty went to Houston every year. And they came back to Montrose, though, found each other. So maybe that's a good thing, to separate vacations, I don't know. But it worked out for them. So we actually have people lined up, and we're lining up now in case the plovers, the piping plover, lots of plovers, killdeers or plovers also, show up again. We have to see them and protect them if they lay eggs. So if one were to lay eggs on Lake Bluff Beach, the only way it's going to survive is protection of people watching it. And the DNR would come out and they would put a cage around it. And
That goes down that beach for public access, right?
yeah,
Yeah. We don't
Yeah.
have We don't have much beach left.
No, but that whole,
Yeah.
just that
In a
area
dream,
alone.
dream scenario, if a piping plover showed up, yeah.
Yeah, but remember what I told you, is Bonnie and Rose didn't park on the beach. They were in the parking lot on gravel. Killdeers will go anywhere, and they're plovers. You'll see them along a road in Wisconsin, like, what are they doing there? You know, they're gonna wipe out their nest. But, you know, that's how, by the way, killdeers are very, they like their territory, and they will push a piping plover out. They play the game and pretend they're hurt, and then they start squawking at other plovers, and so there's all these things. But anyway, so our original idea I was talking about was to ask Lake Bluff, with sharing our shore, and work our way down the lake to the towns along here, Highland Park, in Lake County, and show them the importance of the plovers and other birds, and get everybody on board along the lakefronts. The people, even the residents, of course, you know, the residents knowing, hey, if you spot one, because a lot of them might have, you know, have their binoculars, let people know about that bird. So that may come down the way, but we are pretty stretched right now as far as what we do.
Glenn, can I ask?
Yeah, questions?
So, if it worked out, if we were able to apply and got it, does the council push out information like, you know, here's some cat, you know, how to keep your cat inside, and some artwork and some whatever? Or does it push out, anyway, does it push out stuff that then we can use
Well,
to
you
promote the
you just
program?
hit the number one killer of birds are cats. Number one. Number two is windows.
Yeah.
Right, but so, you know, is there?
Do you have
Do you
an
push it
ordinance?
out
Do you
about-
have an ordinance about cats?
I don't think it's in our.
Let me ask you, that's what we did. I found an ordinance in Waukegan they didn't even know about, because some of them have been made so long ago and they become obscure, and people are, oh, we have an ordinance for cats and dogs? And if you read it carefully in Waukegan, if your dog is caught twice wandering around, you are fined. Now, I don't know how much enforcement there is, because somebody has to make sure they know those, but if there were complaints. So cats are the number one. And so you're looking for information, and I can tell you, if you went on the National Audubon site, it has information for looking for those things.
I was just wondering sort of what comes with certification, like what, you
Is
know.
there a press kit or an information packet or social media library that we can push content out to raise awareness and
Or
engagement?
Audubon starts to.
You definitely,
us
they
in
definitely have examples up here from the cities, and then we will put part of it on here. And that goes out to other people, and you can go to theirs to find that. I suggest, when you contact somebody like, some of you probably know her, Cheryl DeVore.
Yes.
Cheryl DeVore is awesome. She gets stuff right in the Tribune. Right in the front page of the Tribune sometimes about what happens in Lake County and for nature. She's a great birder. So that's a good question, though.
Well, it's something I would suggest, because the village doesn't have the staff to be always looking like, what's the newest thing? What should we be
Yes.
pushing out? This is World Migratory Bird Day or whatever. So
You know,
it's
I'm
an
going to write that down here as a,
opportunity
you
for
know,
cities
check that.
to say that, and then they can all be sending out the same message.
Yeah. Well, the best thing for you guys to be the leader of those things. And you be the sample for everybody else. They'll go, Lake Bluff does that, how come we don't? I mean, you have a smaller community, but you have, like you said, a very diverse community for different prairies and woodlands and rivers and streams and lakes. I mean, you have the biggest, you know, you have part of 1/5 of all the fresh water in the world here, so it's crazy. So if you go to this site on your own, I won't hold your time on this, but you will find examples. Every town that does it is different. I wrote and helped write a lot of Waukegans. So what I did was, though, is you have people working for your village that might not even live in the village, probably a lot of people, in maintenance in different places. And I suggested that to the committee. You go to those people and say, hey, can you tell me something that you know you do? Because sometimes they have the latest information on what you're asking about because of the associations they belong to. You know, maybe a landscape association or a heating or a water association. And they get those latest items. And I know a lot of them will, if the cost isn't too great, will try to update everybody on those. And so you see how it expanded out, though? It's not just about the birds. It's about everything in that community. And that's how we think of Audubon. We aren't just bird walks, that's for sure. I mean, some people think that we have people that want it to be just bird walks. I would say, and I'm not being catty about this, but if you wanted to belong just to bird walks, not just for bird walks, they have good speakers too, it would be the Lake Cook Audubon, which is part of Illinois Audubon, which is older than National Audubon. And it's got a great magazine. But they are not as expanded into other parts of the environment in detail that we try to be in. Like I said, we're looking at Route 53. We're looking at every part of things that are going on. Lake County Audubon is pretty old. I can't think of the couple's name, but you had a great couple that lived here in Lake Bluff that came to every meeting when I remember them, and they liked to canoe a lot. They went on boating things, and they were great canoers. I hope they're still alive. I mean, they were probably in their 80s when they were still coming to our meetings. So it's
Roger Peterson, the famous Peterson's bird guide, his son was my 7th grade science teacher at Lake Bluff Junior High School. We would do bird reports in 7th grade, and we would all pore over the Peterson bird guide that his father, and I believe it was either his father or his grandfather, had basically put together and established birding in the
yeah, he's come, I think it's Russ that's come back here and talked about birds. He's come to the Forest Preserve and brought his stuff from his dad's with
Yeah,
him.
so very exciting.
Yeah. And there is so many connections. I can't go a day now without making connection with people because of something like that. I'll tell you who presented. I don't know if any of you went to the Green Fair, Green at CLC this last Saturday. Did you?
No, but I have colleagues who did go and reported on what it was like. They said it was amazing.
Well, I know that this year, Libertyville actually had a table there from their sustainability committee. They just wanted to show what they're doing. I mean, and they aren't hard things, a lot of them. One thing is they collect pumpkins, and it's like collecting Christmas trees instead of just throwing them away. They collect the pumpkin, but they just wanted to be there to participate in that. So, but John Lewis School from Waukegan was there. They have a greenhouse. Abbott gave them a greenhouse. They gave them a raised garden, and we actually put a prairie in their front. And I'm hoping to get a permit to burn it tomorrow. It's a small prairie, but they were there making drinks out of the food they had grown. And once we started talking to people there, they would come up to us. There was all these connections. The guy that's the teacher there used to be Prairie Crossing principal, out there, which is a community that's in the environment, and on and on and on. You just, it's like you guys going out and finding these people. I'm sure you do that all the time. If you just start talking to them, and then you find out you really all have some of the same thoughts that you are you're trying to make it better. You're trying to cut down on pollution and cut down on waste and all these things. So
Glenn, I have a question for you, and I don't know if this is too detailed or not, but I was reading through the criteria of number 1, and you talked about evidence of legal protection of bird habitat. Can you give us an example of what that would be?
I can give you an example because you have one right in on the edge here in Knollwood, the woman who made a 501c3 of the wetland on Waukegan Road next to Abbott, but it's still in Knollwood. It's All, I think, ALL. She bought the property. They're turning the wetland, which was worthless to build houses on anyway. I mean, it would have been terrible. So they made it a 501c3 and it's protected now. So another protection, well, let's see, Forest Preserve, maybe, unless the airport changes. Your open lands is probably protected. I don't think, probably from your point, everything's always protected forever, but
Not really, though.
I mean, the Skokie Preserve is,
yeah.
that's village owned.
And the Getz wetland.
Okay, and it's guaranteed, right? I know, that's all you can say. In our lifetime, and we hope in the next few lifetimes, it'll be there. The more, I mean, when you do stuff like that, there's always somebody who argues it, usually somebody who wants to be a builder.
Right.
Maybe not even from around here. Like, I think you had that problem, just like Libertyville. Somebody came from California and wanted to put in some homes in Lake Bluff that didn't even look into it very well. And there's always somebody, and I'm not cutting down on business people or anything, but it's when it's outsiders and they're not really looking at, because they're going to build and then they're gone. They don't, it's not their thing, so go
Got a
ahead.
question for you. So let's say we applied and we won the designation, then what are the expectations? It's that we would have 2 signs up? It's
Okay,
that what
you have
what
to,
do
you hit, your city council has to do a resolution, which is, legally is different than a proclamation. A resolution has to be read and signed, it's a legal document, that they support having a bird city. That's all they're doing. It's not bigger than that. But some towns have a difficulty getting a resolution. I don't know if yours does, because they're so used,
What would be the difficulty? What are they experiencing that makes it difficult?
they gotta get everybody to agree that they will, on that board, on your village board, that they will sign this. I don't think there'd be any reason not to. It's just that somebody might have it. Proclamations are a dime a dozen. You could put out a proclamation, they'd probably accept if it was reasonable about having any day, a special day, let's say. A proclamation is required of Lake Bluff also, of World Migratory Bird Day. And you have one. You turned it in, right? You have one. And it's a pretty simple thing, isn't it? It's just saying that people recognize birds, and maybe you can read that.
So we already have that.
He's got a copy of it.
Yeah, so it's slated to be on the agenda for the village board, for the village president to read on Monday night. So the village would,
Proclamation.
the proclamation, the village would then reserve the ability to keep digging on this, right? We'll do that, we'll cover World Migratory Day, and so if the board, or if you all have further conversations about recommending that the village take this on, I think you're right. I mean, we have the Bell ordinance to work, protect birds for cat. We can check a lot of those boxes pretty easily, and probably would more than satisfy the requirements under the program. It's just a matter of, is this something we want to take on? And I think the simplest question is, it seems like everybody's nodding their heads. This is something we should probably do. So I think a simple recommendation, I can take it to the board and have the resolution considered as part of that after we complete an application, and I don't, procedurally, I can.
What's the turnaround time? Like when we submit how frequently does the council
Okay, well-
review?
We meet every couple months, but we did have a special meeting for Evanston to get it through last week. And our next meeting wouldn't be for another 2 weeks. So it's becoming more feasible to, if you get it in,
So it's not that you review it once a year, in April or something. It's once you get it within a few.
yeah, we try to get to it. It's, there's people, well, now you go on Zoom. We read all the documents over the committee, and then there's a person in Decatur, they get on, and everybody looks at it, makes comments on it, and sometimes say, well, this doesn't fit. It doesn't fit here, but it fits here. So they go back to you and say, we recommend you move this to section 4 or 5. And then you retype it and you send it in, and it's quick. It's just to make it complete and accurate. And as I said, all of a sudden you will see certain things, oh yeah, that does. It's just looking from another outside view. That's not, the proclamation does not have, you don't have to be a bird city to do a proclamation. Libertyville's done it for a few years. Waukegan's done it for a few years before they ever were going to be a bird city, before we even brought it up. It's very common. It's done in May, usually, beginning of May or whatever closest meeting, because it is in May, the World Migratory Bird Day. The other thing is, they do tell you, and we are changing things as we go. First, the town had to have some kind of celebration, whatever, of International Migratory Bird Day, World Migratory Bird Day it's called now, and the other one was Earth Day. But we now accept it can be the same, and in the middle between them, that you're doing something for that. You may already do something for that. For Earth Day, you may have all these events you can list that you just, all that you say is, here's what we do on Earth Day, or near Earth Day, or our schools do this on Earth Day, or, the Migratory Bird Day is World Migratory Bird Day. It's to remind people of a lot of those things. And they're all simple things, but I don't know if, does, pardon?
The village and the schools do programs already.
There you go. So, yeah. I don't know if you're, let's see, I was going to ask you, well, you have different celebrations probably. Do you have at your farm, you have a farmer's market, which is good, the day after Libertyville's. But sometimes a table could be set up at that for information. That would be cool. I mean, a garden club could set up information about native gardens or insects, or how you can bring insects and not mulch right away, wait till spring, or not remove all the litter right away, so all these creatures survive till spring. I mean, there's so many things that, and I don't know if you ever looked this up, but nobody ever had lawns. And I think it started down in Forest Park or something when a lawnmower came out, the push kind. And before that, everybody thought dandelions, whatever, were fine. And then all of a sudden there was a competition once the lawnmower, oh, now we can make everybody's yard look like a golf course. But, and that's up to people, but how many chemicals they're using, where are the chemicals going when they wash down? In my own neighborhood, I'm not appreciative of chemicals because I know where they're going. We're at 700 some feet, and it leads down to the Plains River. So it's not staying there. I know it's not staying there in these rains. And it's legal. I don't want to get into that because I am certified. I'm a steward in Old School Forest Preserve for 25 years. So we had a work day today, so cutting buckthorn.
Hey, Glenn, I think this just fits in so well with this committee and what we're working on. I mean, the leaf blower ordinance was as much about noise and pollution as it was about trying to get people's behavior to change around not tidying up their lawns and leaving it a little of those leaf piles in there to protect the bugs and the larvae and all that, through the chain all the way up to the birds and things. And, as we look at lighting ordinance, our focus is on light pollution and restricting that and you know, especially for birds and the impact of that. So I think this bird city, especially if we get it to the point of a resolution, could be kind of this umbrella for the village then to justify why all these initiatives are tied together. You know, we're
Yeah,
not taking away people's rights. We're trying to, you know, make this a sustainable, vibrant
Yeah.
community that's called Lake Bluff. It's not called that because of, you know, gas leaf blowers or lawns. It's
Well, it
called because
enhances your town. I mean, people then take pride in, yeah, we have that. And I think you'll find it just goes in a circle of that pride. It's very interesting how people jump on and see the good of it after a while. And so this celebrates that by having a bird city.
Yeah.
And we celebrate it with, by the way, see, when this happens, we are pretty close with Audubon Great Lakes, which is out of Chicago. And Audubon Great Lakes does a lot of bird surveys. They do a lot of things. And a matter of fact, through them and North Shore Gas, there's going to be a bird observation deck at Waukegan, we hope soon, on the beach.
As a bird city, would we have access to specific Audubon, for instance, funds, grants, anything to help
You
build?
you certainly could. You also, you know, if you have little projects, you can bug us at Lake County Audubon and say, hey, do you know if there's any money for this that we're doing?
What if we have big projects?
Well, we found out when we heard from one town that I said, I think we could get you $10,000 for this. They go, well, okay, we're used to millions. You know what I mean? Towns are used to $1 million grants, not $10,000.
We've got a certain stormwater now where perhaps
But this is how we
Audubon
think.
dollars could go a long way.
Well, you know what's interesting about that? I went back and I said, well, the person agreed with me. I said, I was talking about by Bonnybrook, they have what's called a bird sanctuary, which they have opposition to by neighbors as far as making it cleared and making a real bird area. It's got the sign, but they don't want the buckthorn because they're afraid of people walking through. They're afraid of parking. There's all kinds of things. And we pointed out you can park in Beaver Park, which is a pathway. We've given them all that. And I said, but you know, $10,000 for the size of that property, if it went to a landscaper and then we came in and worked with kids also and showed them, and they came out there for the day and worked, it'd be clear. $10,000 for landscapers, unless it's Mariana, you know, or something, goes pretty far. It really does. It's for just removal of buckthorn, it goes far. I'm not talking about making it into something. So anyway, I don't want to hold you guys from other
It
things.
sounds like the village has gone through this and feel that we pretty easily qualify for most of the criteria that would be a bird city. And I would imagine that, I don't know that we need to take a vote, but I imagine that the committee here would not only recommend that we proceed on the proclamation, but proceed on the resolution as well. Basically, the things that we have been mentioned tonight, from the leaf blower to lighting ordinances to habitat protections, the village has been very active. The SEC has been very supportive. The village board has been very supportive. So I don't really see this as I kind of see it as a no-brainer for the committee. I don't know if anyone disagrees, but I think we would definitely want to recommend that they proceed to a resolution as expeditiously as possible, but within timeframes. It'd be nice to get this going.
Great. And I don't go around selling this, by the way. I'm serious. I came because you guys wanted information. But what happens, it feeds on itself. The Morrises, who lived at one time in Waukegan, live in Grays Lake, they belonged to Audubon. They said, we got to get Grays Lake to be one. I mean, it's just one group telling another group. And I recommend, if you have a committee, though, that you do try to find somebody that works for the village that would advise to that. No, would advise to that committee. It doesn't have to be you particularly. I mean, it might be somebody that works in some area that knows those things And they did that in Grays Lake, and it worked out pretty well. The person got real into it, as a matter of fact. It's kind of cool, you know? All right, well, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Very much.
And we have an Audubon meeting May 1st at Libertyville High School, the last one of the year, 7 o'clock. It's in the theater in the back. Everybody's welcome, there's no fee. And it's going to be pretty exciting. Refugio, who's on our board, is going to talk about the details of the free app, of how to do the free app that's the new one for bird migration. Greenbelt and Ryerson have the towers up with the radar for bird migration. And you will be able, he'll give you the details of how to do that. And once you got that, you could sit with your phone and see what's coming over. A lot of these birds are banded. It will recognize who's coming over, what's coming over. If you can't make the meeting, we record them. It's on Lake County Audubon Society, Illinois, YouTube. It'll be on there. So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next up is the village staff report. We got informational update on the footbridge.
So you don't think we need a vote?
What, do we need a
It's
official
clear,
vote?
the consensus is clear, so it's just a
Okay,
matter of
I
time.
just didn't know procedurally if that's important for the village to see.
If
that
you,
we
I mean, I
recommended
think
it.
it's crystal clear.
Okay, good.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. And Claire and I have talked about having an intern work on the application and
Well, and
assembling.
it looks like there's
Awesome.
volunteers who might
Yeah.
want to help.
These are the residents that were kind enough to bring it to me last week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, thank you. That was very interesting.
I'm pretty sure I sent it to you too.
Oh, you did?
I don't know, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's definitely.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Appreciate your work. So the village has identified in its capital plan the need, and it doesn't take a lot to go out there and look. If you've seen the footbridge, it needs to be replaced. It's time. And so we've had some engineering studies look at it, and we looked at, the price to doing significant repairs. It just makes sense to replace it. Great news is I had a resident say, I'd like to help pay for that.
Oh, that's
Amazing.
great.
Oh,
Isn't
That's
it?
awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
This is the Green Bridge? Sorry.
yes.
Glen,
Yep, Glen Avenue footbridge.
Yep.
And if you go to the next slide, please, Clara. So it shows that the existing bridge is somewhat asymmetrical, but we're going to shift it slightly to the east to line it up, partly to go to the next slide, please. To create a softer landing on the south side. There's a lot going on with that stairs coming up from the ravine area there, and our architect was looking at, it's too much conflict in that tight of space, and we need to make some structural repairs to the north side and to the south side of the landing on the south.
The stairs are kind of falling apart too.
Well, these stairs are actually pretty new. These were redone, but
Oh, really?
here and here, there's some failures occurring on the slopes. And so we're going to shore that up as part of this project and give a footing for the bridge to land on the south side, and then make use of the existing on the north side. This drawing that you see here, really the only revisions from the village's landscape architect, we used Tesca. You guys have met Jody before. Jody drew this up. There were some other seating alternatives on the north side, which is on the right side of the screen. There's a chance to maybe have another opportunity for somebody to donate a bench or some other things. But the neighbors there, if you go back to the first drawing exhibit, you can see. So this is the continuation of the Glen Avenue right of way, really large. So it gets really close to their homes. The idea that they were worried about, that's a little too close, a little too intimate to have public seating areas that close to bedrooms in the house.
Right.
So again, there was some opportunities for putting in benches, but the village had based off the feedback at the ABR meeting last week, said we can pull off of that. So, but the benching on the south, if you're gonna go to the next one. There, oh, go back one more time. Yeah, so that benching matches the benching that you all selected for the trail,
Nice.
the Sheridan Road. So again, everything you see there pretty much matches that with the planting selections. So this is how we're gonna handle the sheet piling to give the retaining wall on those two edges that we talked about. It's gonna have a wooden cap to look visually more appealing. But of the varying alternative engineering solutions for that, this is probably the least destructive. And you probably don't even notice, but the bridge to the east, the other footbridge, that's that Core 10 steel bridge, there's also sheet pilings there. It is covered up with landscaping, so you just don't even see it's there, but that had to be installed there really to save the road. But that's the general take on it. I mean, I'm sharing this with you all. This is sometimes that there's dual jurisdiction for issues like this, but I thought this is almost a report because all the plantings are natural, they're natives and all the materials are consistent with other plans you've approved. So I just want to make sure you saw it. If you had comments, I would relay back to the ABR. We're going to go back there one more time. If you could, go back one more, I'm sorry. So the bridge itself, I didn't have any drawings here to show you, but the idea is to make it look as close as we can to the existing bridge.
Nice.
So it's going to be constructed of steel, painted green to match the Moffett Road green bridge. And it will have open railings with the mesh on the sides. And then it would have wooden decking. And it will have some structural pieces that are there purely aesthetically, again, to match what's there now. Those horizontal pieces now, which actually support load, they would just be aesthetically matching what's there today. So again, it's going to be wider. It's going to be 5 feet 10 inches wide. It's almost 6 feet wide. It'll have a wooden rub rail for kids on bicycles, just like the other bridge has. So if a handlebar bumps up against, they won't crash and fall. And if pricing is good and the budget works, it will be a wood source that is, it says it in the drawing, super dense. It's the same one we use on the poles for the village signs out there. Oh my gosh, the name is escaping me. Forgive me. Hold on. Ipe.
Oh, there we go.
Ipe. So
Tropical.
just like the villages, the vertical members and horizontal pieces that hold the villages, logo signs that are around town, the smaller ones on like Village Hall, Public Safety Building, Public Works, along the McClory Trail, the train station, those are Ipe versus treated
Yeah,
wood.
that's really great wood.
Yeah. It'll
But
ruin some
expensive
saw blade.
too, yeah.
But that's, if the numbers come in okay, that's where we hope we don't have to re-engineer costs by taking that out.
Yeah.
So that's what we want, we're trying to make it work. So,
And you said it's gonna be green?
painted green.
What's the thinking with that? Just to match the existing structure?
Existing green, and then
Because the bridge that goes just east of that, right, between that and Moffett,
it's the Core 10 steel, so it purposely oxidizes to have that protective coating.
Right. And so I'm just, because that used to be a green bridge, right, before that bridge was put in.
That I don't know.
I do.
That predates me.
I used
Okay.
to write it.
Yes,
So
okay.
it used to be a green bridge, and I'm just wondering, we're making a conscious decision not to be consistent with our bridges, our footbridges that are in the same area. And I'm just, why? would
Yes,
we
I think
aesthetically-
because the difference is the Core 10 steel bridge is like an off-the-shelf bridge. It is the least expensive option,
Okay.
and the village at the time made the budget choice to do this because there is a donor and there's the ability to make a more charming bridge that's more consistent architecturally with what's historically been there.
Yeah.
The village is trying to achieve that goal.
Yes.
And the neighborhood, the direction from the board is, golly, I like what's there and what's been there. How can we do that? Well, fortunately, somebody stepped up and made it happen.
And we thank that donor very much.
Yes, we do.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
so that's, yeah.
can I combine, we'll add one item to this along with the chair's report? Can you update us on the middle school parking lot lighting?
Yeah,
If not, I can.
okay.
Well, the Lake Bluff School District 65 made a presentation earlier this month to the Architecture Board of Review about doing improvements to their westernmost parking lot. That's kind of the sports court area now in terms of athletic. There's some basketball goals there, and the kids will have recess there on the southern side of that. And there's a
South end of
fence that
it.
divides it, and then there's parking.
Yeah.
The school is going to come in and do pervious pavers
Great.
and put in landscape islands with trees. And because they're also putting in
In the
sport
play
court.
areas?
In the play, it's gonna be all parking now, but that's because they're gonna move the sport, they're gonna move the activity field to a sport court that'll be placed on the east side of the school. By the
that
band
field?
room outside, yes.
Where the T-ball plays right now.
Oh, so
and-
they're
It will not compromise the T-ball or the field hockey playing that goes on. It'll be, it's between really the band room area outside where there's that chiller and then with that sound wall around it. It's in that area, but it will still allow for outdoor graduation and all those other events. The field will not be lost, and that's why they put it where they're putting it.
Oh, okay.
And, but as part of that,
Are they working with sport court?
they are. And back to the question asked by the Chair Renner, the parking lot does include, which is common, lighting. And they're adding,
The map.
So they'll take what was the play area and make it all parking?
yes.
Okay.
And again, improve it with landscaping and lighting, and I think the light standards, I want to say there was 7 of them, and they're at 20 feet tall, and they are, they agreed to do all the changes into the color, right, the Kelvin, was it 2,000, whatever the.
3,000.
3,000 Kelvin, they're gonna do that to cool, warm the temperatures, and,
Automatic controls.
all that, they were saying yes to all that,
Right.
but the ABR did not approve it because they wanted to see them come back with revised plans that reflect those changes.
Okay. Yeah, so the changes we made, as you know, under our lighting ordinance, are certain temperatures, color temperatures that affect wildlife at night. Also, besides having, that plays into it being accepted as a dark sky fixture, not only the light cutoffs, but the temperature. And then, the controls are such as that, you can cut them down in half, 30% to half, after a certain late time at night. So for normal parent-teacher activities at night, it would be on full, and then at a certain point, it goes down to half. So there are ways to really, to cut back that lighting level.
And would the lights still be on all night at a lower, or would they be shut off at
They'd
some?
be at
Be
a,
shut off, right, at night?
no, they go down to a 50%.
Why? Why does the parking lot need to
Yeah.
be lit up at night?
Yeah,
I have the same question across all of Lake Bluff. The Park District parking lot, the elementary school, at 2 o'clock in the morning, all of those lights are still on when no one's around, no one's over there. There have been no reports of any issues that I could know in terms of crime or violence or accidents, probably in the past 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Well, with regards to controls, it's programmable, it's adjustable. Understand that the light levels we're shooting for are a half to third of what's there now. And then you go to another half when you go 50%. So we're talking half a foot candle or less after a certain time. But certainly they can be programmed to be turned off at a certain time as well.
the new lights you're talking about at the middle school can be programmed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if we become a bird city.
That's right.
At night is when the birds migrate. You want the lights
I'm afraid we already hit
out.
the comment earlier, but I think we already are a leader. I mean, we've already, yeah, so in that regard. So there's the new plan.
So the whole parking lot will be redone with pavers and all that stuff, or just that south end?
I think there's a color rendering, if you want to go one more.
So there's this one, and it looks like there's photometrics.
Yeah. Fixtures.
Would it be after the cut sheets or?
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, there's lighting, AGI, light.
Here's the paver, here it is, to the permanent. That's as far as it goes. So you have to go back up. I thought there was a prettier.
So it'll keep, it keeps the same footprint, or it almost looked like it shrank a little bit?
It's the paving amount of impervious shrinks because they add landscape islands which don't exist today.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Oh, it just looks like such an improvement. Flow has always been a
Yeah.
little weird there.
Well, that's
Great.
good news that they accepted the recommendations. What's the time frame? I assume the summer, maybe, trying to get this done?
Their goal is to finish it in time so that the parade can make use.
Wow.
So,
Well, what do you know? That would be great.
Okay.
tight,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I know it's a valuable space for the parade too. Like
for
it
sure,
is.
yeah.
Cool. I'll have to get some lighting plaques out there.
What are the diagonal lines? Is that grass? I'm hoping it's not turf. Sort of the
think the
farthest,
next year.
yeah.
is paint. I think that's
Oh, okay.
These are the new landscape islands which don't exist. This one's here, but it's not as attractive.
And those would be with natives? That was,
Plant list, yeah. It's right down, right, plant list, right there. Yeah,
Let me
can you
try
zoom
to
in?
zoom in.
There you go. Ginkgo biloba.
no,
Oh, we gotta take that off of there.
no,
Bur oak
no
is good.
ginkgo.
No.
Ginkgo.
Ginkgo would be a no.
And what's that, Tuja Conga?
Well, there's one oak, bur oak,
Arborvitae.
the coffee tree, I don't,
Arborvitae.
Coffee tree is part of the more heat tolerant
Yeah.
species, right?
Those are,
We've talked
we've
about-
planted those, and the problem is they drop, they drop
right, the pod.
Stuff.
pods.
That might
Yeah.
not be
And-
great then in a parking lot.
Right, and that's, yeah.
Especially with a blower ordinance. No more
the-
blowing them.
Now,
Could we could we change the list though and take the ginkgo off? Has that already been, is that negotiable?
I think they would listen to recommendations.
Okay, well,
I don't,
good.
I don't want to guarantee, because I don't know how they're getting the plants or, the source, I don't know that, but,
Yeah, I think we would invite them to try a little harder.
ginkgo
to
is
get-
like the survivor of forever, right?
Yeah, see, the problem is the Chicago Botanical Gardens, the head of it, recommended ginkgos, and so they kind of got ahead of themselves by recommending this tree in the North Shore.
Why was she involved?
They recommended trees to survive the upcoming climate change crisis. And the ginkgo will handle.
It's very
any-
hardy.
But it's
It was
not
with the
native though,
dinosaur,
right?
I know, but the point was how can we maintain shade and in the climate change that's coming with fluctuating temperatures, floods, droughts, and.
That's
some
why the
of
London,
But you
that's
can
why
say
the
the
London
same
plane
for a
tree, the
honey
sycamore,
locust.
right?
Yeah.
London plane
Yeah.
tree,
Yeah.
same thing,
Yeah, and some of the natives we have will not survive.
right.
Right, but many will.
Many
Many
will.
will,
Choose really
yeah.
tolerant.
I'm not arguing it for it.
No, I know you're
I'm just
not.
saying that because I remember looking at the list when I was on the board and going, oh, maybe we should consider these trees because we want viable trees. What they should have done is applied that list to natives and looked at the,
That's why ginkgos are very common street trees, right?
well, they'll be there
Well, they're
forever.
very hardy. I mean, they're cool trees, but
They have no value environmentally.
valueless to.
So I think this committee would recommend a shift to more native heat tolerant.
If you could pass along the recommendation.
Noted.
Yeah, an arborvitae, like,
But the oaks are good. It's good to see the oaks there.
And tell them we appreciate them accommodating the lighting recommendations. Members report, does anyone have anything new they found they want to bring up? Any updates? Okay. Chair's report, I just mentioned the middle school lighting and look forward to continuing to develop our lighting ordinance, getting there. And our next meeting is, do you know off the top of your head what our next meeting is?
I don't, but I can look it up. Really quickly, sorry.
I'm guessing the 16th of May.
Yeah, that sounds right.
yes, you're right.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
Good meeting. Good